Check this out. It's your boy Bobby Outlaw, real name, no gimmicks. And I'm with my player partner from the Bay, Whitney. And today we're talking about consistency and why it's key in business, right?
Crucial.
Crucial. So consistency is just like anything else you do on a regular basis. Like when it comes to brushing your teeth or when it comes to driving your car, getting gas, eating breakfast, consistency is a habit. Being consistent is a habit. Being inconsistent is a habit. So you have to choose, right? You got to choose whether you're going to be consistent or inconsistent, right?
Wait, hold on. Before we go any further, we want to ask everybody.
Yes.
2 things for us. Share this live with 3 people that you think are like-minded and will enjoy this content, enjoy this discussion, and drop in the comments. Tell us where you are located. Tell us where you're watching from and tell us what you do.
Yes. And if you have any questions, hit the question box.
Yes, hit the question box because we are going to be answering. We're going to be saving questions for the end and we will be answering the questions. So use the question box so that way we don't lose track of them. You on Western? Okay. That was real specific.
Oh boy. Off Western. Yes.
Okay.
So yeah, we talking about consistency, being consistent, being inconsistent. They're both habits, and one will make you and one will break you. To me, consistency. Well, before we get in that, let me read y'all the definition, right? So we're clear.
Hold on. Before you even start with that, so for the purposes of being able to edit this, one day I'm gonna remember to do it before we start, but I'm gonna go ahead and put my phone on D&D, so it's gonna pause this really quick. Because those notifications get real distracting, but we're good now. Okay, go ahead.
Oh boy. So let me go over the definition of consistent, right? Acting or done in the same way over time, unchanging in nature, standard, or effect over time. It's real simple. It's nothing to overthink. Being consistent is doing the same thing over and over time, right? And not deviating from it. So I'm gonna go into what consistency means to me. It means momentum over the course of time. And if you stop being consistent, you lose your momentum. And one of the reasons why consistency and being consistent isn't sexy to anybody, isn't glamorized, isn't glorified, is because it's not pretty. Like, it's the process.
There's literally going to be days where it's not pretty. Literally, we're going to get to that.
Being consistent is actually boring.
As hell.
Being consistent is boring, but
it's giving Earth sign. It's giving Taurus.
Okay. Shout out to all my bulls out there. You know what I'm saying?
Giving Capricorn. It's giving Virgo. Shout out to the Capricorns, Virgos, and Taurus. I feel like y'all are going to be great. Better at consistency more than a Sagittarius like me, but hey, we work at it every day. If I could be consistent, anybody can.
Oh boy. But yes. Being consistent is hard for most people because at some point, which it really happens in the middle, it gets boring, and it gets boring to the point and you don't see any progress, where you stop being consistent and you lose all the momentum that you had.
No, you don't lose momentum. You might lose motivation, but you don't lose momentum. The momentum comes from being consistent. You lose momentum the second that you stop being consistent. But you can lose motivation because, like you said, it's like working out. It can take 6 weeks for you to see results when you work out, but it's like, imagine, so it's like you got to get up every day, go work out, and look in the mirror and feel like you're not making no progress, and then one day you look up and you're like, oh, I done did something. So It's like, imagine if you would have stopped before you got to the results. Because you know, one thing is for sure, you're not going to get no results if you don't do nothing.
Man. And, and it's
That's the
funny you
only
said that.
guarantee.
It's funny you said that about working out, because it's like being consistent, there's no public award for being consistent. Nobody is going to applaud you. Nobody's going to give you a plaque. Nobody's going to recognize you for being consistent, because that's something that you're doing for yourself, right? But the personal reward is muscle memory, right? The personal reward for being consistent is muscle memory. And what does that mean, right? Muscle memory, when being consistent, is like Michael Jordan, and this is not about, this has nothing to do with sports. It has everything to do with being consistent, right? Michael Jordan in game 5 of the 97 finals, right? He had the stomach flu. I'm pretty sure a lot of guys in here, I don't know, Whitney, I don't know if you watched sports like that. If you, I mean, we was all kids when the 97 finals was here, but a lot of us remember, a lot of people remember Jordan having the stomach flu, right? But he still played the game. But why did he play the game? From being consistent all the other days leading up to him playing in that game. That's the muscle memory. The muscle memory of him taking the shots. The muscle memory of him doing the sprints. The muscle memory. So he didn't even have to think about the job he had to do, because he did it so many times and he was consistent to the point that his body said, I know you don't feel like doing it, but we're going to do it anyways because we already know how to do it. And
It's
so
like it's like if you drive to work every day and you take the same exact route, and then like it might be a day off or something, and you might find yourself like driving on autopilot and be like, I'm not going to work today, like, but you just found yourself going there because it's become a habit. So that's kind of like what I think about when thinking about muscle memory, is that we have our habits to the point where you start doing stuff without even having to think about it. And that can be a good thing or it can be a bad thing. Like you said, consistency and inconsistency are both habits. And I saw a tweet today that was like, wow. And the tweet said that the rest of your life is going to look like what you do. I'm paraphrasing, so it might not hit the same, but it's like the rest of your life looks like what you do every day. Like if you just do the same thing every day, like what you think you're going to be doing in 5 years? The same thing, unless you do something different. At some point you got to do something different. You know what I mean? So doing nothing or doing a lot is a habit either way.
So yeah, in my opinion, the muscle memory will allow you to do the thing that you have to do when you don't want to do it, right? It's gonna push you, because there's gonna be times when you're sick, right? But you still got to make that content. There's gonna be times where somebody passes away, but you still got to take that meeting. It's gonna be times where you're feeling depressed and you're like not where you want to be, but you still have to show up. And that consistency muscle
is going to make it easier when those times come. Because a great example, I wasn't even thinking about bringing up, but if anybody follows Brother Ben X, if you follow him, then you know. If you don't, check him out. One of the most consistent people that I see online. His mother just recently passed away. He's still posting content every day. Now, I'm sure that part of that is because it's a habit for him to post every day. For one, when it's a habit, it's not difficult to think of content to post, right? But not only that, I'm sure he probably also has a bunch of other content that he can be posting. So maybe he doesn't have to create anything new. He's got a big bank of stuff he can post. He's incorporated some content of his mom into his content. And I know that it's a tough time for him. He just lost his mom, but he hasn't missed a beat. Now, that can sound a little harsh or a little like, man, you doing too much. Like you talking about a death in the family and I got to keep posting. The thing is if it's a job, if you make money off of your content, you can only call in to work so many times before you don't have a job anymore. And we're going to get a little bit more into that. But knowing that if you're making a living off of your content, or if your goal is to make a living off of your content, when you are in that place of making a living off your content, there's going to come a time where you're going to be going through something that's going to make it hard to make content. But if you're already conditioned to do it because you're consistent, then it's going to be easier to do it in those times where you really don't feel like doing it.
Right. So the ball's in your court.
Okay. So I was going to get into why consistency is important, and Bobby kind of already started that. We kind of already touched on that a little bit with there's going to be times where you need to post, or anything that you do. Like, we don't even have to limit this to content. Obviously, well, that's kind of, like, that's what I talk about most of the time. But really, like, a lot of stuff that applies to content can apply to anything in your life. And there's going to be times, if it's something that's good for you, that helps you in life, there's going to be times where you don't want to do it. It's very difficult to do. You don't have any motivation in the world to do it. But because it's a habit, it's going to be easier because you've already built the habit of doing it, right? So that's for one. But for two, it's important to be consistent because a lot of us, hey Shaquay, and shout out to everybody that's in here, and we're talking about the importance of consistency. Specifically, we're talking about with your business and with content, but you could apply this to anything in life. But a lot of people are not getting the support that they feel they deserve, right? Because they're not showing up consistently. Right. Now, what that means is it's not even that people don't want to support you, but they don't even know, they don't take you serious, and you can't blame them for not taking you serious because they don't even know if you take you serious. Like when you're doing something new, when you're trying a new type of content, maybe you're talking about a new topic, maybe you're starting to take your content and your business more serious. And there's going to be a lot of people that don't support, they don't engage, they don't take it serious, but you can't really blame them because they haven't seen that it's serious to you. And when you start showing up more often, they're going to be like, oh, they're really serious about this. Another thing you could think about it is if you're dating somebody, right? If you're dating somebody and they're not consistently texting you, they're not making an effort to see you, you're not going to take them that serious because you don't want to get your feelings hurt. You don't want to invest yourself emotionally into somebody that you don't know is going to actually be showing up and someone who's serious about whatever it is. So it's the same way, like your audience, you have a relationship with your audience, and your audience doesn't want to get emotionally invested in you if they don't even know that you're going to show up every day. So you can't get mad at people for not supporting you or for not taking you serious or for not supporting your business or sharing your content or, whatever. If you don't even, like, for all they know, like, this could just be a phase. This could be like, here today, gone tomorrow, whatever. So you have to stay consistent to start building up that support. Like, this is Bobby and I's 4th live. You know what I mean? So at first it could be like, oh, they went live. That's cute. You know what I mean? But it's like we show up every other Monday. We show up at 7 p.m. And so there's people who start to look forward to the lives, but they know that we're going to show up. You know what I mean? People don't want to look forward to something that they don't know if it's going to happen or not. You know what I mean? So you have to stay consistent to build a fair relationship with your audience. And then, wait, hold on. Jayla said that's the word. I know people who switch from thing to thing. When you do that, it's hard to gain trust. Exactly. You being consistent is building trust with your audience. People might not feel comfortable making a purchase from you. Like I said, they might not feel comfortable sharing. And when I say sharing, last live, we talked about the importance of word of mouth marketing, right? People referring you, people sharing you, people vouching for you. When people share your content and they're like, oh, go follow so-and-so, go tap in with so-and-so, that's built off of trust. And that's trust that you've built, right? So if you don't, go ahead.
I want to add something on as far as like when you were saying like people being consistent and switching from thing to thing, right? And I don't want people because that may intimidate some individuals in a way, right? Because I went from I'm using myself because y'all know I like to be transparent, right? I sold life insurance. I was rapping. I put on events. I was hosting events. And I had a radio show at Cal State Dominguez. I was doing all these things, right? And it led up to which it was like, okay, is Bobby doing this? Is Bobby doing that? But this is this I have been consistent with brand, right? And I finally found what I was doing. And then your past leaves clues that led up to me figuring out branding is what I should have been doing the whole time. Because the whole time I was around individuals, branding individuals on my radio show, when I was hosting, when I did events, and that's what I should have been doing the whole time, which is why now I'm locked in and I've been as consistent as I ever been. So sometimes your character is straight. You have a great character, but your character needs to catch up to your consistency.
Right. And it's not that people don't fuck with you and people don't want to support you. It's not that people don't want to see you win. They're just not sure what you're doing. And before they vouch for you, if you got a solid circle of people around you, like I have a solid circle of people around me, you can't fault somebody for hesitating to refer you when it comes to word of mouth if they're not sure that you're serious about what you're doing, and you show that you're serious about what you're doing by being consistent. Because it's like, okay, they're showing up, they're making the effort. That's when people start coming in, okay, like, oh, I can refer. Like, I've had that happen with me. Like, it took for me to be consistent and having a clear message and a consistent message before people started hitting me up. Like, it's like, the whole like, oh, I see that you watch what I do, but you don't ever support. Well, they just might be, give people time to watch for a little bit and see what you got going on. And for them to start, showing that public loud support, because they're also putting their name on the line, even a share, a share to their story, or, tap in with so-and-so or whatever. Like that's putting their name on the line to their audience. You know what I mean? So that consistency is going to help you build trust with your audience. It's going to help people take you serious. And then I'll let you get into the attention span part of it.
So yeah, it's like you need to be. I want to go over an artist, right? And this guy has become one of my favorite artists. Got to get more familiar with his music and his brand when he came on In the Kitchen with Chef Junie, and his name is Airplane James, right? And so in the span of a year, right? Just this 1 year alone, from January to we're damn near in December. So I'm gonna just say December, right? He's dropped 3 projects, right? And I would say in a 16, like a little bit over a year time frame, he's dropped 4 projects and has had a tour, right? And whenever an artist, nowadays, the attention span, this is the age of social media. This is the age of technology. So the attention span is decreasing every day. Every day, the attention span is decreasing, which is why it doesn't matter what you're doing. You need to be consistent all the time, because if you're not, people are going to forget about you. Go ahead, Whitney.
I want to also say too, I want to add another perspective to saying that our attention spans are short, because as somebody with ADHD, I don't like when people say everything is not about us having a short attention span. Mm-hmm. The truth is that there's an abundance of content. So we actually have the ability. We have the ability to pay attention. We don't have short attention spans, but there's a lot of distractions, and there's a lot of, it's like, if you're not going to be consistent, like I tell some of my clients during strategy calls, like, if you're not going to give people this information, guess what? They're going to go get it from somebody else's page. They can get it from your page, or they can get it from somebody else's page. People have the attention spans because we can sit there and watch a whole hour-long podcast if we like it. You know what I mean? But But if you don't drop that podcast episode, we're going to go watch somebody else's. And we're going to stick around and subscribe to the channels that are consistent. We're going to emotionally invest in the channels that are consistent. Like, if I know this podcast drops an episode every Tuesday, I'm going to start to look forward to it. And I don't want to look forward to shit that I don't know I'm going to be able to access. You know what I mean?
Right.
So,
that's a good point. It's loud, right? It's
yeah.
loud in social media. It's loud in the internet. It's loud in the world. And in order for you to silence the noise, you have to show up.
You have to show up. I promise you, because I know I can name a bunch of content creators off the top of my head, and I who have very loyal followings. People in the comments looking forward to their posts. You know what I mean? Like, looking forward to their new episodes, looking forward to their updates. My girl AB, Legally Hype, like, people are in her comments looking forward to her giving a breakdown of what's going on in the news, but they know that she's going to do it. So they look forward to it. So they're loyal to her and they seek her content out. So we have the attention spans, but people aren't going to invest in you and paying attention to you if they don't know that you're going to show up. So you can't fault people for not being all on board when they can't even tell if you're all on board. You know what I mean? So
yeah. 100%. You got to be all on board.
Key, I want to Key, my girl Key Story, she's a rapper from the Bronx. She's in here, and I want to give her a shout out really quick because it's on topic of being consistent. And Key just hit, if you're on TikTok, you know that first 1,000 followers is the hardest to get, and it's important because you can't start going live until you have 1,000 followers. And she just broke over 1,000. She's at like 1,100 and counting. She got half of them followers in like the last week. And her being consistent on the platform and sticking it out, only getting a few hundred views on a video, and that didn't discourage her from continuing to post. And she finally broke through, got a video with like 100K views, and that took her account over that 1,000 mark hump, and that came from her being consistent. So shout out to you.
Okay. Then she gonna want to listen. No.
Facts.
But yeah, that's shout out to you. You doing big things. I'm trying to reach that 1,000 on TikTok too. But
right, we gonna get you there. You gonna get there.
But so, like I was saying about Airplane James, right? Also, the key, another important key, right, that just came to me right now, and being consistent is not getting high on your own supply. So just because you come up with a good project, just because you come up with a good product, a good service, and it's received well, that doesn't mean you need to be stopping in your tracks.
Oh, that's when you got to turn it up the most.
That's when you have to turn it up the most. But it can be a double-edged sword. A lot of people get killed by their own success and stop their own momentum because when they have the highest of the high, they get stuck there and they don't move forward. They just stay in the moment.
They feel like they don't have to keep doing the same shit that got them there.
Right. So my boy Airplane James, we're going to start from June 2021, right? June 2021, he dropped his project called Eastside Special. And if you know anything about LA, you know about Louisiana chicken, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So Eastside Special, he dropped his project in a Louisiana chicken on Broadway and Century. They allowed him to serve his project through the window to his fans. That was funny. That was dope. He had hundreds of people out there. He had it locked down on Broadway and Century, which is active neighborhood. Right. You know what I'm saying?
It's not a Louisiana fried chicken if it's not active.
If it's not in an active neighborhood, you feel me? But he had it locked down for 3 hours, a successful event, an event that was outside of the box, because what LA artist is shutting down Louisiana chicken to serve their project outside of the window like they serving chicken, right? Mm-hmm. Outside of the box. Off of that high, he could have stopped. He could have got stuck in his project, right? But from there, he went on a tour in September of 2021. And that tour He had Bino on his tour. He had another artist who was doing a tour with called Sham 1016, who's big in the city. And it was a small tour that was in Southern California. Two of the places that they performed at was the Novo, which is a big venue, and the Observatory in the OC, which is a big venue. So he could have stopped there, right? He could have kind of like been high on his own supply after doing the tour that Bino was on. You know what I'm saying? Then what happened at the beginning of this year, he got the third highest grade on the rap report card, LA rap report card. And because he wasn't as known as Bino, that didn't get a great grade, Kalan for real, that didn't get a great grade, G Perico, Blue Bloods Clan, he got a higher grade on the LA rap report card than a lot of these artists that have supposedly bigger names in the city than he does, right? And he still didn't get high off his own supply. He just used that as more momentum. And because people kept asking, who is Airplane James? Who is Airplane James for him to get a B on the report card when other artists that are, you know, more popular, more influential in the city got a C, a D, an F? Why? What warrants Airplane James to have a B? He could have stopped right there because LA Rap Report Card went viral and anybody that had a good grade went viral. So instead of getting high on his own supply, and when people was asking who is Airplane James, he came out with a project called Who the Fuck is Airplane James? Right? Came out with that project in January. He released another project in April of this year called Low Key Hurt. Got received well, got put on a gang of blogs, and then he released his last project in September called The Pending Pack, which he exclusively released on SoundCloud, right? Because now SoundCloud is a big wave too. It's people popping off of SoundCloud. So the fact that he exclusively, you know, put his project on SoundCloud, he wants to start growing his fan base there. But he released 3 projects in 1 year, when some rappers, some artists release 1 project in a year and expect to be the king of the city. You know what I'm saying?
And for all my artists in the live right now, like, that is specifically so important for artists when it comes to building fan bases, because when we talk about having a relationship with your audience and people only feeling safe to emotionally be invested in your brand when you're consistent, is like, Ralphie the Plug is another great example of that. La Russell is a great example of that. New artists who drop more consistently have stronger fan bases because their fans feel safe investing in them, like, you know, like being a fan of them because they know they're going to get new music. Nobody likes being a fan of an artist that doesn't drop. I'm a really big Frank Ocean fan, and trust me, it's not fun to be a Frank Ocean fan, right? But we love Frank, you know what I mean? But those artists who don't drop that often, Rihanna, Frank Ocean, Kendrick, you know what I mean? They put in that work to get to that point, and we love them regardless. Like, they're legends, right? They're immortalized in music, right?
Rihanna doesn't drop that much?
Rihanna, not Ariana, girl.
Ariana.
And I'm not talking about her. But
good, because she's my favorite.
Period. But that being said, like, it's gonna be harder to build a fan base if you're not consistent, because you can get a viral song. Imagine if Ice Spice Munch blew up and she followed up with another single, you know what I mean? And she you know, she won on the press run and all of that. If you don't follow up and you don't keep dropping and you don't build that relationship with your fans, it's gonna be like, cool, that was a cool song, you know what I mean? But people will be fans of the song, but they won't be fans of you. People can't become a fan of you unless you're consistent. Nobody wants to be a fan of an artist that doesn't drop music. So it's like, girl, bye.
Because I want slime.
You better be happy with that slime. Anyways, it wouldn't be a live. It wouldn't be a Bobby and Whitney live if Winter didn't interrupt asking for something.
That's right.
it's a tradition now. But so that being said, and that consistency applies to no matter what you're doing, people feeling safe investing emotionally into your brand. That applies to anything, but specifically for artists where your career is built off your fan base, and a lot of artists are failing to build fan bases because they're not showing up consistently. So Key, I'm talking to you in here too right now. You've been on a hot streak on TikTok and you got to be consistent. Not saying that because she's not being consistent. I'm just saying that's an example of when you start to get that momentum, the worst thing that you can do is stop, because it's like you got all these people's attention on you. Now you got to keep it.
Man. So are you ready to get into your case study?
Yeah, I'll get into mine. And Baghead is in here. He's a dope ass producer from the Bay. And Baghead actually knows Dregs. So I'll go ahead and get started with Dregs. But for those who don't, yes, Key, yes, stay on it. But for those who don't know, Dregs One is a San Francisco rapper. He's most known for his History of the Bay series, which started on TikTok, and he's turned it into a podcast. The podcast is doing good. He's like 10 episodes in now. That being said, Dregs was kind of going through the same thing Key was recently with, getting his TikTok page off the ground. And that came from posting consistently even when you feel like you're not getting any results. So we compare it to working out, where it can take like 6 weeks for you to be able to look in the mirror and see any changes in your body from working out. Well, it's the same thing with content. And it can be really difficult to post every day when you feel like you're not getting views. But those views are, one, giving you the muscle. Those posts that you're posting that aren't performing well, they serve another purpose, which is, one, teaching you how to make content. You're still getting better at content. Like, are you ready to go viral? You know what I mean? Are you ready to follow up? Have you even built the discipline to be consistent so that if you do go viral, you don't lose that momentum? You know what I mean? There's lessons in that. If you go viral and you don't have any other content, people have no reason to follow you. They don't know what you're about. You're going to lose that opportunity too. But he was consistent with posting, with seeing, very little views on his content, until one day he went viral through the roof. His content's posted on Thizzler, it's posted on It's the Bay, he's posted on Hyphy Culture, he's posted on all these Bay Area pages. They're reposting his content. That made his Instagram go up, and he could have got high on that supply, you know what I mean? But he actually took it a step further and got out of his comfort zone and turned it into a full podcast, where now he's working on, like, okay, he's got the short form content down, and he's got the TikTok audience, and he's got, we're going to talk about that later.
I'm going to break it.
So, he's got over 70,000 followers on Instagram. He's got over 40,000 followers on TikTok, right? He's got like 1,000 YouTube subscribers, which is actually still really good for YouTube. But he's at like 7,000 now. So his podcast episodes, when he first started putting out his podcast episodes, he wasn't getting very high views. You know what I mean? But that didn't stop him from making more podcast episodes. You know what I mean? And he already had that discipline from being consistent with his TikTok. You know what I mean? Now he's 10 episodes in. His YouTube subscribers are going up. And now we were just at the YouTube Avenues event in the Bay and introducing him to other artists who have bigger names than him, bigger followings than him, you know what I mean, who are more well known. And you mentioned History of the Bay. They know who that is. You know what I mean? And so that came from his consistency, and he was able to reach that point in his career where he is right now, and now being a full-time content creator. Like, that took him, he started being consistent with that, like, top of this year, and we're in end of November now, you know what I mean? But to be able to grow that big in such a short period of time, and having a real following where he can do shows, he was already doing shows, but he can headline his own shows. He's putting on his own shows. He's doing meet and greets. All of that came from being consistent and continuing to put in the work, even when it feels like you're not getting any results. Because the only thing that's guaranteed is you won't get no results if you do nothing.
Right.
So you got to keep working. Another example that I think everybody in here at least knows about, but it's always worth mentioning, is LaRussell, just because he is like the poster child of consistency. He went from having 4,000 followers to over 500,000 followers and counting. Every time I look, it's like up and up. In 1 year from content, from being consistent and showing up every day and post 6 times a day. And he's been doing that for a while. But when he first went on the Breakfast Club and did that first freestyle a year ago, right? He didn't have a really big following. And so it's like he could have used that as like, oh man, I'm on the Breakfast Club. People are going to come looking for me. But it's like you can't waste that momentum and slack off. That's when the work just gets started. Now you have to keep people's attention. Now you have like people's like, okay, I'm gonna check them out. It's like I compare it to people like coming in a room. I'm gonna sit down and look around, and I'm trying to figure out if I like it here. I ain't taking off my shoes or my coat yet. I'm not getting too comfortable. I don't know if I'm gonna stay. You know what I mean? And so that consistency, like, you know, people sharing, and it's like people know, like, when Russell drops, man, he dropped that one album, I Hate When Life Is Going Great. So 4,000 copies, real copies, direct to consumer copies, right? Where he's getting all that profit. He dropped another project like a month later, dropped another album with a documentary, with behind the scenes footage, you know, like all of that stuff. And he could have been like, man, I just sold 4,000 copies. I think he said everything I'm saying is from his own content. You could verify that on his page. But I think he said he made like $75,000 off of that one album that he sold 4,000 copies, right? That's just purely from sales. He made 75 bands. And then went and turned around and dropped another one. Like, the work ain't like, you know, a lot of people will be like, man, what? I'm up right now. And they get comfortable and they chill. But he doesn't take his foot off the pedal. And at his last pop-up show, I asked him, like, you've kind of hinted here and there about like only doing this for another year and then you're going to be done. And you've hinted at like, you know, possibly retiring. And I asked him, like, do you say that? Is that emotions in the moment? Do you have a plan to retire? You know what I mean? Like, how do you feel? And he's like, eventually he will, because he wants to be able to enjoy his life. But he's like, one thing I know is that when I do step away, I'll have given it everything that I got. You know what I mean? And so he probably, I'm just going to go ahead and say, like, there's rappers that have platinum albums. There's rappers that have #1 Billboard songs. There's rappers that have more followers, right? But I don't think there's a rapper or an artist, at least not an independent artist, but not a rapper, major or independent, who has a stronger brand than the Russell right now. And that is built off of his consistency. And so much so that consistency is a part of his brand.
Right. Right. So, and just to, you know, stepping outside of an individual, a person, celebrity, we can even look at, you know, for people that have businesses, small businesses, let's look at like Apple. And when we're talking about being consistent as a business,
they too consistent. They dropping a new phone every 3 months.
Apple is ridiculously consistent. They're like the poster boy of consistency, and they're innovators and creators at the same time. Sometimes it's hard for creatives to be consistent because they're always overthinking things, right? Creatives overthink so much where they can't be as consistent when creating something new.
And next, we about to get into, if you guys have any questions, use the question box so that we don't lose track of them, because we're going to answer questions at the end. But what we're going to get into, I don't know if that you were intentionally transitioning to this, but we are going to give you guys some tips on how to stay consistent.
No, just wanted to throw out like a business instead of using individuals, just so people can see it, people that are in here that may have services or products, right?
Right.
When we talk about Apple, right? And we're not even going to talk about the beginning. Let's talk about 2002 when they released the iPod. Revolutionary, right? 1,000 songs in your pocket, which was their slogan, right? They could have stopped there low key, like a
Like we
thousand.
changed
Like
the game.
we changed the game. Then
They
in
kept changing the
2000,
game.
in 2008, 6 years later, they came out with the iPhone, right?
They didn't even
And
stop
I
there.
didn't
Because what
stop
came next?
there.
What
You
came
feel
next?
me? Change the game again, right? Change the world, excuse me, not the game. They changed the
The
world, right?
world.
They changed the world again. Then what they came out after that was the iPad for creatives. You feel me? Then in 2016, they came out with the iPhone watch. You feel me? And so we don't know. Now they're working on having a car, right? You got Apple TVs. You have all these things that Apple has come out with, and we don't even know what they have on the drawing board for the next 5 to 10 years. But they're a company that could already stop and be cool with the product line that they have already created
Same
and
with
just
Google.
sit back and let the cash come in.
Google's
But
another example.
Google,
Because they keep coming out with different products too. Like it was just Google, and then it was Gmail, and then they got the calendar, they got Google Meets, and they keep Google Maps, and they keep dropping new things.
so I think one, and I know we're going there. One tip that I would say, like, for individuals is you should have a vision. I think having a vision for where
That's
your brand is going, your vision will help you be consistent, because now
yeah.
you can think years out instead of what does tomorrow hold, what does next month hold. But if you have a few years in advance, then you can be consistent leading up to year 3, year 4, year 5.
Right. And so what you said kind of leads into what I was going to say as far as tips on being consistent. One, having the vision. Two, I was going to say set goals. When I do strategy calls with clients, one of the first things that we do is we get clear on what do you want your content to accomplish for you. Like there are people whose lives are being changed off content. There's really nothing too big of a goal. And sometimes when I get people thinking about it, like we might get on the phone thinking that we're going to be talking about like an album release, but they're like, they actually have other things that they want. And so it's like, okay, well, let's make content to help you reach that goal. You know what I mean? Like, and we can incorporate the music and then now promote the music with the angle that's going to help that. But I say that to say something that will help you be consistent is ask yourself, what do you want content or whatever you need to be consistent in? What do you want it to accomplish for you? And that's going to help you on the days where you don't feel like it, you don't feel motivated. Like for me, I want to be able, like on my TikTok, I do affiliate marketing, and I want to be able to make $5,000 to $10,000 a month off affiliate marketing, so I can go back to law school and be able to have time to, like, if I could just make TikToks and study, like, I'll be great. And that's what makes me, on the days I don't feel like making TikToks, that's what makes me get up and continue to create, because I have to make the content to get the commission, to make the money, to grow my following, all of that, right? So be clear on what you want your content or whatever you're doing to accomplish for you. That's going to help you stay consistent and create those habits of consistency on the days where you don't feel like it. Like that's the difference between discipline and motivation, because we're not always motivated.
No, I agree.
Yeah. I want to get to this other tip too. And this goes for the women, the ladies, and this goes for the men. There's going to be days where your hair is done, you got to cut, or you don't got to cut. There's going to be days where your makeup is done, and there's when in your content, and there's going to be days where you have content where it is and when it's not. And when it's done, you're going to show up and it's like, like, okay, I look cute, I look good, but you can't only make content on the days that you look good, because we don't look good every day. I mean, some of us do. No, I'm just kidding. But no, like our hair's not always done. We don't always have a fresh haircut, for the fellas. But think about your 9 to 5, if you have a 9 to 5 or whatever your career is that you have to report to, right? If you only went to work on the days that you look good,
you get fired.
Man, you wouldn't have a job no more. That job wouldn't last long.
Right.
You know what I mean? So it's like you have to treat it like a job. Like if you want to get real results that can change your life, that can pay your bills, that can get you opportunities. There's content creators. There's one girl, I can't remember her name, Sydney Bell, I think. And she's an Emmy-winning performer now. And she's doing shows with Lizzo and all of that. And I don't know, Odd, if you're still in here, but she's been performing with Usher at his residency. You know what I mean? And I can't speak as to how she got the opportunity, but I know that there are content creators who are getting life-changing opportunities off of their content. And if you want content that can change your life, if you're looking for, it doesn't have to be a career where you're making money off your content, off what you post, but it can get you in front of the people who can give you real life opportunities. And the only way that you're going to get to that point is if you treat it like a job and you show up when you don't feel like it, and understand that you're making content to reach your goals. You're not making content to impress other people. You're not making content like, who cares what these people think? You're not making content for them. You're making content for you and for your goals. And you won't reach them if you're not showing up. So show up for yourself.
You have to. You got to. And just know that somebody's always watching you. Someone's always watching you. And, you know, you being consistent and you not seeing anything come from that, and you stopping may stop you from receiving a blessing from someone who's been watching you.
There's people
for
watching just to
the
see
longest.
if you're going to be consistent. They're watching, back to our first point, they're watching just to see how serious you really are. Because it's like, if I have this big opportunity, if I got a 6-figure opportunity, am I going to hand it off to someone who I don't even know if they're serious? Because your content doesn't have to be perfect. You don't have to look perfect. There's the people who you actually want to work with. Forget the people who are going to be like, oh, well, you know, like she got rolls in her stomach, her hair's not done, or why her eyebrows look like that. Like, you're not making, them people not going to change your life. They're not the ones who are going to be DMing you with an opportunity or sliding in your emails, you know, with a 6-figure opportunity, right? You're making content. The people who you actually care about, who you should care about, they can see through those imperfections. And as a matter of fact, they're going to be more impressed with the fact that you show up, rain, hail, haircut, makeup, sleet or snow. You know what I mean? They're going to be more impressed by the dedication and the work ethic than they're going to be worried about all them imperfections. So the consistency is where the magic happens. The consistency is where the content can change your life. And I don't care, like, you can go viral on a one-off, like, you know, it's a chicken salad. She went viral off of one TikTok, but she didn't get, like, if she would have fell off of TikTok after that, she wouldn't have got the Weight Watchers deal. You know what I mean? She showed up for the news interview. She kept making content. She kept doing those things. And so it's like, you have to be consistent. Even if you go viral on your very first post, the opportunities come from consistency, period. Because nobody wants to, even you go apply for a job, people are hesitant to hire somebody with gaps in they're hesitant to hire people with gaps in their resume and people who don't stay at their jobs for very long. Both of those things have to do with consistency. So whether, like, anything it is in life, no one's going to take you serious. You're not going to get results without it. So that's my sermon.
I think this is a fine time to ask any individuals if they have, does anybody have any questions about consistency, any problems, any roadblocks that you've, you know, come across when trying to be consistent with what you're doing? Because being honest, you know, I can't speak for Whitney, but I'm still learning to be consistent.
Man, you know, it's a habit. Because I don't want to say that I'm learning how to be consistent, because I think we all know how to be consistent. You be
Right.
consistent. Being consistent, you said it when we opened up. To be consistent is to do the same thing. It's boring to be consistent. We don't have we're not learning how to be consistent because we know what it is.
Right.
We're developing the habit of being consistent.
Right.
And it takes time, because you can't just say, I'm going to be consistent, and a week later you're consistent. Consistency comes with time. So I say that to say, I'm going to go ahead and give us our credit and say, in that encouragement, and say, we're not trying to be consistent. We are being consistent. We're actively working on it. It's an active decision that we make. You know what I mean? Like Bobby and I, we did like one live, we did 2 lives. And I told him, I was just like, I feel like we have to keep doing this now.
Bruh, like, do you imagine, like, just when she talks about consistency, this started from a live that she had in a random live in August. It
took Bobby it took Bobby at least 2-3 months for him to be like, all right, let's do it. But we here now.
It took me 2 or 3 months to be like, let's do it, because a creative overthinking, right? We talking about being consistent, right? Creative overthinking, like, oh, I need to push it back a little bit more. I need to push it back a little bit more. And then I just picked the date, and I was like, let's just do it.
And to talk about not taking people serious until they show up, like, you can't, it's not that I'm like, I don't take Bobby serious as a person. It's not that I don't like Bobby, but I'm also not going to chase Bobby down to do something that's his idea. So it took hella months before we started, because, and I've never even told Bobby this, but because I was waiting for Bobby to be ready to do it. So Bobby, because at first we did it, and then he's like, you want to do it again? And it's like, you want to do it again? And after, like, this is our 4th live together. But then I'm like, you know what? I feel like this is something we need to keep doing, because it's working. We're starting to build people who consistently come and join our lives. You know what I mean? But like, I didn't even really start giving Bobby giving Bobby like tips and pointers until I saw him showing up consistently. So it's like for himself, you know what I mean? So the help comes, the people take you serious. Your credibility is built by being consistent. That was about to lead me to something else I was going to say about a tip on being consistent. But yeah, like, it's in the work that you do every day. And I also like to extend the grace, because I don't want people to be too hard on themselves. You don't have to take, like, we go live every other week. I'll just use that as an example, right? That could turn into once a week. That could turn into 2 times a week. But we started with something reasonable that we can manage. You know what I mean? And we said we're going to go every other week, right? Because that's something realistic. I never encourage, when I do strategy calls with people, I never encourage people to try to be like, okay, I'm going to post every day for 30 days. Like, you're going to break
every day.
And if you haven't been posting, because this is what happens. You set an unrealistic goal, right? And you say, I'm going to post every day for 30 days, right? And then day 3, you don't post. And then you're like, man, I failed.
Right.
And so you stop. You know what I mean? And so just know that consistency is literally doing the same thing and building a habit. So it's like, if you miss a week, it's okay, keep going. Like, it's not a failure. Consistency takes time to build. You know what I mean? It's the fact that you keep going. Don't take too much time off, but also give yourself the grace. You know what I mean? And give yourself the credit. Celebrate the small wins. Pat yourself on the back when you show up. Don't pat yourself on the back so much that you think you're done. But, give yourself the credit for what you do, because like Bobby's saying,
real quick, I don't want people to just, because you said something that was very important. Start with something that you can manage. Yeah. People be like, it's as this is equal to going into the gym your first day.
And being like, I'm about to eat clean, I'm cutting out all carbs.
And you about to bench press 250 pounds on your first day. you're gonna break your chest, right? That weight is gonna fall down on your chest cavity gonna split open, or you're gonna crush your esophagus, right? Start off with something that you can manage. Like she said, we started off with doing once every other week, twice a month, every other week, twice a month. Some people are making a commitment of I'm gonna do a podcast, I'm gonna do it every day. And so you're already killing yourself because you're setting unrealistic goals for yourself. Now, reach for the stars.
Yeah, I was about to say, I'm all for setting big goals, but I just want to give that disclaimer of don't set huge goals and then beat yourself up when you don't reach them. If you're going to aim for the moon, be okay with landing on the stars.
100%.
So I just like to give that disclaimer because, you know, we're people, we're not machines. And it's like if you say I'm going to go on a diet, right? And then you're like, I'm going to eat clean. I'm going to only steam fish, vegetables, whatever. I don't know. You know what I mean? And then like day 4, like you have some cravings and you feel like, well, I fell off. And so we get discouraged. Like, I can't do this. And we stop. So just know that consistency takes time. And if you fall off, the worst thing that you can do is quit and stop. It's okay to start over and keep going. You don't fail until you give up. So
yes, you do.
So real quick, if there's nothing else, you know, I want to do my Bobby rants.
Okay.
All right, check this out. It's Bobby Outlaw, real name, no gimmicks. And this Bobby rants is my segment. Whitney, I'm still waiting for you to come up with yours.
Right.
And Bobby rants has nothing to do with the topic. It's just something that's on my mind. And something that I've been seeing a lot lately is men in business being creeps to women in business. And I just like that to stop. Let's stop making women feel uncomfortable in workplaces. Let's stop make women feel uncomfortable in the studio, because this more so takes place in entertainment, and it really takes place in the music industry. And we got to get to a place, man. We got to get a place, man, where you have self-discipline, self-control.
Hey, they got the man version of them little rose things. I'm gonna just say that, but if you got to get one of them before, you know, before you
And here's the thing, right? It's like if you look down my feed, if you look down my timeline, if you go to my past, you'll see me around a lot of women, right? A lot, right? I work with women, I work well with women, but one of the reasons why women like to work with me is because I'm not a creep.
At all.
At all, right? And I make them feel comfortable, and I keep it professional. And if it turns into a friendship, it'll be an organic friendship. But I am tired of hearing, especially black men on black women, because we're supposed to be protecting our black queens. I'm tired of seeing screenshots of women posting up dudes being creeped to them, keeping either ending business ties,
holding on to their music,
keeping their masters. Right? Saying that I'm not gonna record you anymore. I'm not gonna record your verses. Doing all these weird things because they're being creeps. They're being sickos. They want more than what they should want when doing business.
Well, they were never trying to do business. They were trying to use that as leverage and hold it over the woman's head. And it's yeah, stop doing that. And thank you, and shout out to Bobby for, as a man, because as women we can say that all day, but it's really, we